the biggest entrepreneur platform on the planet. This is Business Rockstars. We are the biggest entrepreneur platform on the planet. Welcome to Business Rockstars, where I have Bridget Sampson. She is the CEO of Sampson Communication Consulting. Thanks for stopping by today.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
So if you could give us an overview of your entrepreneurial journey and a little bit about your business.
Sure. Well, my company is called Sampson Communication Consulting, and we help organizations by designing and facilitating training programs, professional development programs on almost any topic that you can imagine. So my journey has involved a little bit of an academic side where I got my education in communication studies. I've been teaching at a university, and I also got some experience very early on as a consultant working for a consulting company. So I loved it. That was over 20 years ago. I got to travel the world helping people improve their communication skills, and at that point decided I wanted to do it on my own and started my own consulting business.
I think the consulting business model is so interesting because a lot of times there's so many arms of the business where I know that you wrote a book and you've given a TED Talk and you've done several different things. So maybe dive into the various facets of what you do.
Okay, great. Well, yes, there are many different facets. So one facet is being a trainer and being in the training room, for instance, at Google training. Last week, it was 100 managers at Google doing a professional development program for them. It's also one-on-one executive coaching, so really intensely working with one person to improve their communication, their leadership, their management, their team building skills. So it's coaching, training, and then I try to do as much writing as I can, trying to get into blogging and getting the message out there of what we teach and what we provide in various formats. So writing the TED Talk was a great opportunity. One of my passions is helping people overcome their fear of public speaking. So when I found out that I would have the opportunity to deliver a TEDx talk, I thought I really want to put the message out there about how important it is for us to be confident public speakers. So that was a great opportunity. And so I'm just open to any opportunities that come my way to help people grow and develop and especially improve their communication skills.
Yeah. Okay. So the fear of failure and self-doubt, all those things are very real. So do you still struggle with that sometime? Did you more so in the beginning? And if so, how have you dealt with it?
I still struggle with it all the time. And I dealt with it a lot in the beginning. And I think it's easier after you have experience, since I've been doing this for 20 years. Yeah, you realize it's all going to be okay. There are slow times. There are times when there's too much and you can't get everything covered. So it's just reminding yourself that if you stay the path and you keep following your plan and do the things you know that you need to do and that others have done to be successful, staying calm. I'm a big yoga fan.
As am I. You got to breathe through it.
Yes. You have to have practices that allow you to center yourself and realize everything's going to be okay. It's all going to work out.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you could go back in time to those beginning years where it was a little harder to manage, what advice would you give your early entrepreneurial self?
I would say to be more aggressive. I thought about saying the word assertive, but really I had opportunities that I missed to tell people about what I do, to explain to people the value of what I do, and I didn't take those opportunities, whether they were friends or family members, people who were connected and could have used my services and could have greatly benefited from what I do, but I never wanted to be pushy and I didn't want to appear aggressive. And I realize now, because now I'm much more confident about doing that, and I've made great connections where I'm able to help people in ways that they need help. So I would say be assertive. Talk about what you do, not to the point where you're being pushy or you're putting people off.
Pleasantly persistent.
Exactly. Yeah. Pleasantly persistent. And if you have something of value to offer, why not let people know about it and take every opportunity to share it?
Yeah, that's a tough one and a really good point. And I so can relate to it. I think a lot of times in the beginning, you struggle with imposter syndrome, just being a new entrepreneur and, am I really qualified to tell these people what I'm doing? But if you look at it like, hey, I have a way that I can add value to someone, you're just sharing that you have this offering and you're not pushing it on them. And I think there's definitely a correct way of doing it.
Absolutely. I completely agree.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So what do you think is the best and the worst part about working for yourself?
The best part is having control and being able to do what you want to do and to pick and choose. I've said no to things that I really didn't want to do that I probably wouldn't have been able to say no to if I worked for someone else. And I think the challenging part is work-life balance for me, having a family and wanting to do fun things and have my own time and have time to breathe. So for me, when you're an entrepreneur and you have your own business, for me, it's been challenging to find the balance because I never stop working. I have an office at home and I can always work. I can always go in there and work.
Yeah.
So finding that balance is challenging, but I think I'm figuring it out.
Is there something that you found that's helped you find that balance?
For me, really, it is yoga and doing a lot of reading. I like spiritual reading and reading that just helps me get my mind out of the work I need to think about, and also just spending time with friends. I have a lot of amazing friends, so just getting out to lunch or dinner with friends.
So really making time for the other things that are important to you, not just your career.
Exactly.
So obviously you've built a successful business. You've helped others build their successful business. What are 3 tools that every entrepreneur has to have? It could be tangible, like an app or software. It could be intangible, related to communication, your expertise. So what would you say those 3 things are?
Well, I think the website is really important. I'm actually rebranding myself and redoing my website. So I think having a really great engaging website that helps people understand what you do and the value you offer and has fantastic testimonials from your clients, and that you're blogging so people know what you have to offer. I think the website's really important. I think that having, for me, it may not be related to the business, but having some kind of practice aside from the business, like yoga, or something that's completely separate from the business that allows you to detach from it when it's too much. So something that works for people personally, for self-care and for balance. So the third thing I would say is having a really strong network of colleagues who do what you do or are in your field. So people who you can talk to when you're not sure about how to make a decision or what direction to go with your business. Definitely having a strong network and constantly growing that network of folks who get what you do.
All very good tips. Thank you so much. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk more about building the business. We are the biggest entrepreneur platform on the planet. This is Business Rockstars. We are the biggest entrepreneur platform on the planet. Welcome back to Business Rockstars. I'm continuing my conversation with the CEO of Sampson Communication Consulting. So where did you get the idea to start this consulting business?
I actually worked for a consulting company for 1 year. So I really learned the ropes there, got to travel, got to learn about how you develop training programs and how you engage in executive coaching and how you work with clients and build relationship with clients. So I spent a year really learning the business and then went out to do it on my own.
So when you started your business, you were teaching at the time, which allowed you to kind of seamlessly transition into entrepreneurship, and therefore you didn't really need a ton of seed money to get started. Can you tell me a little bit about that transition?
I travel to my clients to do the work that I do for them. So I didn't need an office and I didn't need supplies and I didn't need employees or anything like that in the beginning. So I really didn't need seed money, as you said. I just needed the time. And so I had the stability of a job where I had to be there a minimal amount of time, and then I was able to go out and build the consulting business in the free time that I had.
And a lot of times when you're just starting out, you can do it as a solopreneur, and then you know, some consulting firms end up being really, really big with lots of employees and everywhere in between. So tell me, how big is your team at this point?
Right. So we have a team of 3, and I also have a lot of independent consultants who do their own work independently, and some of them also teach, and who I bring in on projects from time to time when we need more people to work together. So for instance, I'm going to be working for Google in Buenos Aires in a couple of months, and then got another great opportunity for another job that same week. And so I brought in a couple of independent consultants who've worked for me before, and they're going to be a fantastic team doing an all-day retreat for a team of 100 executives. And so it's constantly shifting in terms of how many people are working with my company based on the needs that we have and what our clients are bringing to us.
It sounds like you have some great consultants that you really trust, but I would imagine in the beginning that was a little nerve-wracking to kind of hand over the keys and you really trust someone to do your process. So can you tell me about that, finding the right people and making sure they're implementing your process correctly?
Yes, absolutely. All of the people who work for me, if they're going to do training or executive coaching for my business, they have to have experience having already done it. So I know that the consultants who work for me now have already done a good deal of training. They have good good reviews and testimonials from people who they've done training for, and they have executive coaching experience. And I also always have them shadow me first and co-facilitate or work together as a team with me so that I can observe before I ever send them out on their own.
Yeah. So what would you say is the biggest challenge being a consultant?
The biggest challenge is probably figuring out exactly what your clients need from you and providing it. When a company or an executive decides to bring on a consultant for a project, often that executive isn't sure what he or she needs or wants. So
They just know something's wrong.
Yes,
and
exactly.
they want you to fix it.
They know there's a problem. They want a solution. They don't always know exactly what the problem is or what's causing the problem. So the analysis that we have to do, it needs to be very thorough, and we need to bring our education and our background and our experience with similar projects to the table and make sure that we figure out what they really need, and then we provide them with the best solution for that. And that's challenging. Sometimes we learn after the fact that it wasn't really, that the situation wasn't what it appeared to be on the surface. But that doesn't happen as much now after all the years of 20 plus years of experience that I've had.
Sure.
But it definitely has been challenging in the past.
What would you say has been your biggest success?
For me, my biggest success is working for companies that I really admire and think have an innovative model, like Google, for example. I've been working for Google for 6 years. They're a major client for my company. And being on the inside and seeing what they put into their management strategies and their vision and the way that they encourage people to empower their teams and to communicate effectively has been incredibly inspiring to me. So my best success is really the level of clients that I get to work with, and that I get to be proud to say I work with Google and I work with Mattel and I work with companies that really are teaching me so much about how to run my business more effectively, yet they're hiring me to help them.
So were you able to achieve some of those goals that you set out from the beginning? What's kind of been the key to your success?
Never giving up. Constantly driving, striving, seeking help when I needed help, when I wasn't sure where to go, going to my mentors, and just never giving up. There were many moments where the work was incredibly difficult, or there was no work and I wasn't sure where the next job was going to come from, and I never gave up and I kept trying. Just persistence and tenacity are essential.
Yeah, and you mentioned mentor. I know your husband is one of your greatest mentors.
Yes.
He's also a successful entrepreneur. So tell me a little bit about how that works, having your own husband as a mentor.
It's fantastic. He has a very successful claims adjusting business, and he's grown it to have 17 employees who he manages beautifully and has wonderful relationships with. So whenever I struggle or I'm not sure about how to handle something, he's the first person I go to. He has the best advice. And whatever it is that I'm going through, he's been through it, I know, because he's further along in his business development. So it works out wonderfully.
Oh, that's
I love
so
it.
great. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of your business insight with us today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
We are the biggest entrepreneur platform on the planet. This is Business Rockstars.